Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, we cover all things entertainment, celebrity news, and the stories that the internet just cannot stop talking about. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that has been making headlines and generating a whole lot of conversation. And that topic sits at the intersection of celebrity marriage, aging, and the very human experience of menopause. Kelly Ripa, the queen of daytime television and co-host of Live with Kelly and Mark, has never been the type to shy away from the personal and the uncomfortable. But when she started sharing the details of her menopause journey, and more specifically, how her husband Mark Consuelos navigated it alongside her, the internet erupted. Why is this trending? Because the story is funny, is relatable, and it peels back the curtain on what it is actually like to be in a long-term marriage when life throws you a curveball that neither of you fully saw coming. To understand why this story landed the way it did, you need to know a little bit about who Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos are, not just as celebrities, but as a couple. These two have been together for nearly 30 years, and their love story is the kind Hollywood usually only puts in movies. They first met in 1995 on the set of the iconic soap opera All My Children, where they played love interests. The chemistry was immediate and undeniable. Within a year, they had eloped to Las Vegas in a whirlwind wedding ceremony that felt perfectly fitting for two people who never seemed to do things by half measures. That was 1996, and they have been going strong ever since, through 3 children, multiple career reinventions, and more than their fair share of TMI moments on national television. Kelly Ripa has been a household name since she first took her seat on Live. Back in 2001, originally alongside the legendary Regis Philbin. Over the decades, she has cemented herself as one of daytime's most durable and compelling personalities. Mark, meanwhile, built a devoted fan base through his long run on the hit CW series Riverdale, where he played the deliciously villainous Hiram Lodge. But in April 2023, everything changed when Mark officially stepped in as Kelly's permanent co-host on Live, filling the seat vacated by Ryan Seacrest. The transition was seamless in a way that only 30 years of knowing someone inside and out can produce. What makes their relationship so fascinating to audiences is that Kelly and Mark have never really played by the rules of celebrity oversharing. They have completely rewritten them. From discussing their sex life to their parenting struggles to their very loud marital disagreements, almost nothing is off the table. So when Kelly began opening up about menopause, nobody was entirely surprised. But what she revealed about Mark's role in the whole story, that caught everyone off guard. Let's get into the heart of it, because this story has layers. It all started during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Kelly and Mark, like the rest of the world, found themselves at home together with nowhere to go and nothing but time. It was during this lockdown period that Kelly began noticing something was off with her body. Her period had stopped showing up. And rather than jumping to the most logical explanation for a woman in her early 50s, Kelly's mind went somewhere else entirely. She became convinced she was pregnant. Now, before you laugh, consider the context. Kelly and Mark have always been famously open about their active and enthusiastic romantic life. So in her mind, pregnancy was not exactly an absurd conclusion. She began taking pregnancy tests daily, 4 days on end. The tests came back negative, but that did not stop her from continuing. She was determined to find an answer. It was Mark who finally, very carefully, very gently, and let's be honest, very bravely, stepped in to offer another explanation. As Kelly later recounted in a conversation with Haute Living ahead of the release of her 2022 memoir Live Wire, Long-Winded Short Stories, Mark had a delicate conversation to navigate. Kelly recalled a moment vividly, describing how Mark sort of gingerly asked her whether there might be another reason she was not getting her period. When Kelly fired back with an incredulous, "What other reason could there possibly be?" Mark found himself in the unenviable position of having to explain to his wife that she was, in all likelihood, going through menopause. Kelly herself said he really had to walk on eggshells to get that message across. And there it is. That is where the phrase concern for his safety comes from. Because anyone who knows Kelly Ripa knows that delivering that kind of news in that kind of moment requires a level of diplomatic courage that most people simply do not possess. Mark Consuelos looked at the situation, assessed the risk, and decided the truth was worth the potential fallout. That is either incredibly loving or incredibly bold, and honestly, it might just be both. The story does not end there, though. Fast forward to October 2023, when Kelly took the menopause conversation to an entirely new level on her Let's Talk Off Camera podcast. Speaking with hormone specialist Dr. Erica Schwartz, Kelly was refreshingly and unapologetically enthusiastic about the whole experience. She declared openly that she loved not getting her period anymore, said it plainly and without hesitation. She celebrated the freedom that came with it, even dubbing the entire summer the summer of the white pant, because for the first time in decades, she could wear white without any anxiety whatsoever. But perhaps the most revealing part of those candid conversations was what Kelly shared about how Mark handled the emotional and physical changes that came with her transition. The couple also discussed on Kelly's podcast how menopause had affected their intimacy. Mark, never one to be anything less than completely honest, admitted that he had not exactly given Kelly a break during that period, insisting that there had never been months without intimacy between them unless he was physically in another country filming. He also admitted something genuinely surprising, that he had only recently come to understand the distinction between sex and intimacy, and that years of frequent travel for work had blurred the line between the two for him. It was a moment of real vulnerability from a man not always associated with that kind of self-reflection. Meanwhile, Kelly spoke honestly about the challenges that came with Mark's long absences, including the 10 months he spent away filming Riverdale, and how the couple navigated closeness during that separation. Through all of it, the menopause, the distance, the physical and emotional changes, the picture that emerges is of two people who have genuinely committed to figuring things out together, even when those things are awkward and complicated. There is also something deeply telling in the detail that Mark addressed the topic publicly rather than shying away from it. He has mentioned on live and in interviews that when he is truly afraid to bring something up, he prefers to do it on the show, because, as he has said himself, he feels safer with an audience present. It is a dynamic that is equal parts funny and revealing, and it has become something of a signature for the Consuelos-Ripa household. The internet, predictably, had a lot of feelings about all of this. When clips from Kelly's podcast circulated, and her quotes from the Hot Living interview made the rounds, social media lit up with a combination of laughter, admiration, and a surprising amount of genuine appreciation. Many fans praised Kelly for speaking openly about menopause in a culture that still tends to treat it as something to be whispered about, or worse, ignored entirely. Women across social media platforms shared their own stories, thanking Kelly for making them feel seen. There was also no shortage of affection directed at Mark. Viewers and fans celebrated the image of a husband who not only recognized what his wife was going through before she did, but handled the conversation with enough sensitivity to come out the other side with his marriage, and presumably his physical well-being intact. Memes circulated. Commentary flooded comment sections. The phrase "walking on eggshells" became something of a rallying cry for every partner who has ever had to navigate a difficult truth with their spouse. Entertainment media was equally enthusiastic. Outlets for me. News to People to Hello magazine covered the story extensively, framing it as a rare moment of authentic celebrity transparency. The coverage was overwhelmingly positive, with many journalists noting that Kelly and Mark's willingness to discuss these topics openly was doing something genuinely valuable, normalizing conversations that millions of couples have in private but rarely see reflected in their pop culture landscape. So what does all of this actually mean beyond the laughs and the relatable moments? Quite a lot, actually. Kelly Ripa is one of the most visible women in American daytime media, and the platform she commands is enormous. When someone with that kind of reach speaks openly about menopause, not as a tragedy, not as an ending, but as a transition that comes with its own unexpected gifts, it shifts something in the cultural conversation. For years, menopause has been treated as a topic to be managed quietly, a sign of aging that polite society does not discuss too loudly. Kelly is essentially refusing to participate in that silence, and her audience is responding. For Mark, the story says something equally interesting. Here is a man who has built his public image largely around intensity, whether through brooding soap opera roles or his reputation as someone unafraid to speak his mind. And yet, the picture that emerges from these conversations is of a husband who is paying close enough attention to his wife's body and experience to notice changes she had not yet recognized in herself. Whatever you think about the Consuelos Ripa brand of oversharing, that level of attentiveness speaks for